mysteries, puzzles that promise hidden power and truth within. A Jesus whose teachings were so strange, so unsettling, so different, that the early church refused to include them in the Bible. Some people called this book blasphemy. Some called it enlightenment. Some said it was dangerous. And others believed it was banned because it revealed too much. Today we open that jar, we break that seal, and we dive into one of the most mysterious ancient texts ever discovered. This is the Gospel of Thomas, the discovery in the desert. Our story begins in 1945 in a dry, forgotten place in Egypt called Nag Hammadi. A group of farmers were digging in the ground, looking for fertilizer. Nothing spiritual, nothing magical, just dirt to grow crops. But fate had different plans. One of these farmers hit something hard. Not rock, not metal, something hollow. A tall clay jar, almost as high as his chest, sealed tight. He hesitated. Local legends said jars like this held evil spirits, demons, curses. Why risk opening it? But curiosity is stronger than fear. He cracked it open. Inside, he didn't find gold. He didn't find treasure. He found books. 13 leather-bound books made from ancient animal skin. Books older than every church in his village. Books older than almost everything the modern world knew about early Christianity. These books would go on to shake the world. And among them, tucked between mysterious writings and forgotten teachings, was a text with a title that made scholars freeze. The Gospel according to Thomas. But this was not like Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. This was something else entirely. There were no stories, no miracles, no parables like the ones in church, no birth of Jesus, no cross, no resurrection story. Instead, there were sayings, one after another, short, sharp, almost like clues in a treasure hunt. They sounded familiar, but also strange. Some were comforting, some were confusing, some sounded like riddles meant for a secret group of followers, and some felt like they were never meant for the public at all. As news spread, scholars from around the world rushed to study this mysterious book. Some believed it might contain the earliest words of Jesus ever recorded, earlier than the Gospels, earlier than Paul's letters, earlier than almost anything. Others said impossible. They believed it was a later, mystical invention. The debate began, and the world watched. But the question remained, why was this gospel hidden? Why was it buried? Why was it absent from the Bible? To answer that, we must step deeper into the text itself. Before we continue, please subscribe. This journey gets deeper, stranger, and more powerful from here. Hit that button so you don't miss the next chapter. The sayings that shocked the world. When scholars first opened the Gospel of Thomas and read the sayings inside, many sat back in silence. This wasn't what they expected. This wasn't the Jesus they preached on Sundays. This wasn't the Jesus from stained glass windows. Here was a Jesus who spoke like a philosopher, a poet, a mystic. One saying read, "The kingdom is inside of you, and it is outside of you." What did that even mean? The kingdom inside me? Not heaven far above? Not a place after death? But something already here? Something inside every person? Another saying said, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you." This one hit people hard. Bring forth what? Strength? Wisdom? The soul? Something deeper? It felt like Jesus was pointing to an inner treasure. Then came another mysterious line. Split a piece of wood, and I am there. Lift a stone, and you will find me. A Jesus who could be found not only in temples or holy places, but in the world itself, in the everyday, in creation, in the things we touch and see. But some sayings were unsettling. One said, "He who finds the meaning of these words will not taste death." To early church leaders, this sounded dangerous. Too mystical, too open to strange interpretations, too easy for people to twist into their own beliefs. And that was part of the problem. The Gospel of Thomas didn't explain. It didn't clarify. It didn't guide the reader. It just dropped these sayings like powerful seeds, leaving you to figure them out alone. No wonder early Christians were nervous. A text like this could create many different teachings, many different ideas about Jesus. Some good, some not so good. And so, the sayings became a battlefield. Some Christians loved them. Some rejected them. Some feared them. But whether loved or hated, one thing was certain. The Gospel of Thomas was unlike anything the world had ever seen. If you're still with me, subscribe. We're only getting started. The deeper we go, the stranger this story becomes. The controversy. Why it wasn't included in the Bible. To understand why the Gospel of Thomas was not included in the Bible, we must travel back, all the way to the early centuries of Christianity. A time of confusion, a time of fear, a time when hundreds of different writings were spreading everywhere, each claiming to reveal the truth about Jesus. Some churches used one set of writings. Others used a different set. Some believed Jesus was fully human. Others believed he was fully divine. Some believed he was both. There was no single, united belief. It was chaos. Leaders of the early church knew something. If believers kept reading different writings, Christianity would split into many different versions, many different movements, many different voices. And so, they made a decision that would shape Christianity forever. They would choose which books were official, which books were true, which books were inspired by God. This was not done in one day. It took centuries of debates, arguments, councils, and decisions. But when church leaders looked at the Gospel of Thomas, they hesitated. Why? First reason, it had no story. Thomas didn't talk about Jesus' birth, his death, his resurrection, or his miracles. It didn't mention the cross. It didn't mention forgiveness of sins. It didn't mention salvation in the way the church taught it. Thomas sounded more like a collection of puzzles than a gospel. How could something like this guide new believers? Second reason, it encouraged personal interpretation. Thomas didn't explain anything. It just dropped mysterious sayings and told the reader to find the meaning. To church leaders, this was dangerous. If everyone found their own meaning, then Christianity could become 1,000 different belief systems. Third reason, it resembled mystical teachings. Some of the sayings in Thomas sounded similar to early mystical groups the church considered dangerous, groups that believed salvation came from secret knowledge, not faith. To the early church, anything that sounded secret or hidden was suspicious. And Thomas had a lot of hidden-sounding teachings. Fourth reason, it did not match the message of the four Gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John all shared a connected story. Thomas stood alone, disconnected, mysterious, and almost rebellious. For these reasons, the church set it aside. Not destroyed, not erased, but excluded. And as the centuries passed, Thomas faded away like a whisper lost in time. People forgot it ever existed. Until the desert gave it back. So was it banned because it was false? Or was it excluded because it was too bold, too mysterious, too independent? That question still divides scholars today. Before we dive even deeper, pause for a moment. Please subscribe to this channel. More mysteries like this are coming, and you don't want to miss even one. The most mysterious sayings of Jesus. Now we step into the heart of the Gospel of Thomas, the sayings themselves. Some are beautiful, some are confusing, some are shocking, and some feel like they carry a secret underneath their simple words. Let's explore a few of the most mysterious ones. Saying 1. He who seeks should not stop seeking until he finds. This sounds simple, but it hints at a journey. Not a journey across a land, but a journey inside yourself. A search for truth that never stops. Thomas begins with a command: seek. Don't stop. Don't settle. This was different from the teachings of the early church, which focused on faith and obedience, not endless searching. Saying 22, the saying about becoming one. Jesus says that when you make the inside like the outside, the above like the below, the male like the female, then you will enter the kingdom. What does this mean? Some scholars say Jesus is speaking about inner unity. Others say he means spiritual maturity. Others believe it's symbolic poetry. To early church leaders, this was too unclear, too open-ended, too easy to misinterpret. Saying 29, if the flesh came into being because of the Spirit, it is a wonder. Here, Thomas speaks like a philosopher questioning existence. Why do we exist? Why are we here? Thomas pushes the reader to think deeply, and maybe too deeply for the early church. Saying 70, if you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. This is one of the most famous sayings in the entire book. It suggests that salvation is already inside you, like a seed waiting to open. But this conflicted with early Christian teachings, which said salvation came through Christ's sacrifice, not from within. Was Thomas implying humans had inner divine power? If so, this was spiritual dynamite. Saying 77, split a piece of wood, and I am there. This one is almost cinematic. Imagine cutting wood and finding Jesus in the grain. Imagine lifting a stone and sensing his presence underneath. Thomas paints a picture of a Jesus who is everywhere, not far away in heaven, but close, near, present in the world. A Jesus in nature, a Jesus in creation, a Jesus in the ordinary. Saying 114, the most controversial saying. This one contains a puzzling conversation about Mary and the nature of spiritual transformation. Some consider it symbolic, others consider it difficult, others say it was meant for a specific audience. Regardless of interpretation, this saying alone was controversial enough to make many church leaders reject Thomas entirely. These sayings are not stories. They are doors. Each one opens into a different mystery. And this is exactly why the Gospel of Thomas shook the world when it was rediscovered. If this is blowing your mind already, imagine what comes next. Please subscribe now so you don't miss the next mysteries. The hidden message inside the Gospel. What if the Gospel of Thomas wasn't meant to be read the way we read normal books? What if it was meant to be experienced, unlocked, discovered slowly, almost like a coded message? Some scholars believe Thomas wasn't a gospel, but a training manual for spiritual seekers. A guide for people who wanted to understand Jesus' message on a deeper level, beyond miracles, beyond stories, beyond rules. Thomas begins with a bold statement. Whoever finds the meaning of these words will not taste death. This suggests the sayings contain a hidden layer, a secret, a treasure. What is that treasure? The inner kingdom. Again and again, Thomas speaks of an inner world, something powerful already inside every human being. The kingdom is inside of you. Not far away, not someday in the future, not only after death, inside you. This idea alone changed everything. If true, then every person carries something divine. Every person carries something sacred. Every person carries a spark, waiting to wake up. The search for self-knowledge. Thomas pushes the reader to look inward, to know themselves deeply, to discover the truth beneath their thoughts, fears, pain, and confusion. Some call this philosophy. Some call it psychology. Some call it mysticism. But Thomas presents it as Jesus' teaching. When you know yourselves, you will understand that you are children of the living Father. This is a powerful message, almost too powerful. It bypasses all religious structures and points directly to the individual. The call to wake up. Many sayings in Thomas feel like alarms, calling people out of sleep. Not physical sleep, spiritual sleep. Thomas describes the world as a place where people walk around unaware of who they truly are, unaware of the kingdom within, unaware of their inner light. Jesus and Thomas is calling. Wake up. Remember who you are. Look deeper. The reason it was rejected, and maybe this is why Thomas was excluded. Not because it was false, not because it was evil, but because it gave too much responsibility to the individual. It didn't need temples. It didn't need rituals. It didn't need structures. It offered something dangerous: freedom. Freedom to seek. Freedom to discover. Freedom to question. Freedom to find answers inside yourself. Many early leaders feared this would weaken the growing structure of the organized church. So Thomas was set aside, not destroyed, but forgotten. We're heading into the final chapter, where everything comes together. Before we continue, please subscribe. You don't want to miss the ending. What the Gospel of Thomas means for us today. Now that the world has rediscovered the Gospel of Thomas, one question remains. What does it mean for us today? Why does this ancient book speak so strongly to modern people? 1. A new way of seeing Jesus. The Jesus in Thomas is not distant, not unreachable, not hidden behind rituals or walls. He is close, personal, speaking directly to the heart. For many, this makes Jesus feel more real, more human, more relatable. 2. The inner journey. Thomas reminds people that spiritual life is not just about rules or traditions. It is about transformation from within. People today, facing stress, pressure, confusion, find comfort in the idea that the kingdom is already inside them, that peace is already inside them, that God is already near. 3. A message for seekers. Modern people question everything. They search for meaning. They look for answers in science, psychology, philosophy, and spirituality. Thomas fits naturally into this world. It invites questions. It pushes people to think. It allows room for mystery. 4. Is it secret knowledge? Some fear Thomas encourages hidden knowledge, but others say it simply encourages personal growth. Not secrets, but self-discovery. Thomas doesn't say hide these words. It says, let the one who seeks continue seeking. A call to explore, to question, to grow. 5. The final message. At the end of all its riddles, all its mysteries, all its strange sayings, the Gospel of Thomas leaves us with one powerful idea. The light you seek is already inside you. You just have to see it. This is why some people love this gospel. This is why some fear it. This is why some say it was banned. This is why some say it was forgotten. But whatever it is, one thing is clear: it refuses to die. The desert tried to bury it. Time tried to erase it. But truth always pushes upward, rising like a seed in dry soil, waiting for the right moment to bloom. Maybe that moment is now. If this journey moved you, surprised you, or opened your eyes, please subscribe. More ancient mysteries, lost books, and hidden history are coming.